Guaranteed. Somebody made a call. Hey. I think a Bang Zoo here, bruh. Hey, Bang Zoo here, bro.
New footage just hit the internet, and now the streets are buzzing louder than ever. The clip supposedly shows some people connected to Lil Durk hanging around with dudes rumored to be tied to THF Zoo's murder, and it's got everybody confused, shocked, and arguing non-stop. From O-Block to the suburbs, folks are trying to figure out what's real, what's fake, and who might have stepped outside the code. This situation is shaking the whole city. Let's break down the full timeline, because the streets want to know who put the target on Zoo's back. On October 25th, 2025, around 3 p.m. on a Saturday, the city of Chicago was moving like normal. People running errands, grabbing parts for their rides, vibing, chilling, trying to stay out the way. Just a regular day in the Chi. But for Da Vinci, THF Bezo Collier, a 35-year-old drill rapper who'd been rocking with Lil Durk's Only the Family movement since early days, this regular Saturday was about to turn into his final moments on Earth. Zoo wasn't moving reckless, and he wasn't out here causing trouble. He pulled up to the Pick and Pull auto parts spot in Little Village, right there in the South Lawndale area off the 3100 block of South St. Louis Avenue, simply trying to grab some parts for his whip. That's it. No flexing on camera, no internet drama, no back and forth with rivals. Just everyday grown man errands that anybody could relate to. But the streets don't care how regular your day is when you've got pressure tied to your name. If people are looking for you, they'll find you anywhere. At the corner store, at the gas station, at the bus stop, or, like in this case, the junkyard. When someone wants you gone, normal life don't protect you. What happened next was cold, calculated, and frightening. An unknown vehicle slid into that parking lot with a level of precision that made it clear this wasn't no random drive-by. This wasn't a heat-of-the-moment decision or someone acting out on a sudden burst of anger. This was organized. Somebody planned this. Somebody knew exactly where Zoo was gonna be and pulled up with intention. Bezo wasn't alone. He had two older dudes with him, 139 and 142, just trying to get through the day. But the second that vehicle crept in, everything flipped. The shooters let off with force, turning that whole lot into a battlefield instantly. They weren't tapping the trigger lightly. Over 100 rounds were fired. Over 100 shots ripping through the air, hitting cars, metal, concrete, everything. It looked like something straight out of a war movie, not a Chicago junkyard on a Saturday afternoon. In real life, when the crime scene techs pulled up, they found 20 rifle casings and 19 9mm shells scattered all across the concrete, like someone emptied whole magazines just to make sure Zoo wasn't walking away. Every casing told the same story. Whoever pulled up that day wanted Zoo gone for real. 5 different cars in the lot were hit, windows blown out, doors punctured, metal ripped apart like aluminum foil. Everything looked destroyed. That's how you know the shooters came with pure intention and zero hesitation. Zoo was clearly the main target, no question about it. He took multiple hits to the stomach and chest, bullets ripping through vital organs and major blood vessels with the kind of internal damage even top trauma surgeons struggle to reverse. The shots weren't glancing hits, they were life-ending wounds. The two dudes who were with him got hit too, but luckily their injuries weren't as severe. The 42-year-old took rounds in the arm, back, and lower body, while the 39-year-old ended up in fair condition. All three were rushed straight to Mount Sinai Hospital. But even before the ambulance doors opened, everybody on scene knew Zoo's condition was critical, like extremely critical. Then things got even crazier once social media got involved. Footage from the scene started spreading online in minutes, blowing up across YouTube, X, Instagram, and every drill page out there. The videos were raw, unfiltered, and graphic, showing the exact moment the shooter's vehicle pulled up and unleashed shots. You could see bodies dropping, people scrambling, cars getting shredded, and total chaos exploding in seconds. Mainstream news stations like ABC7 and Times Now refused to post the clip because it was too intense, but that didn't stop it from going viral everywhere else. It racked up thousands of views with RIP captions, shocked comments, and heavy content warnings. The whole city was watching the tragedy unfold in real time, trying to piece together what happened.
3 men hospitalized after South Lawndale shooting, police say. 3 men were shot around 3 p.m. Saturday in a parking lot in the 3100 block of South St. Louis in South Lawndale after someone in an unknown vehicle opened fire. The The victims, a 35-year-old man in critical condition and 2 others, ages 39 and 42, in fair condition, were all taken to Mount Sinai Hospital.
When Zoo reached Mount Sinai's ER, doctors knew he was hanging on by a thread, and that's putting it lightly. According to people close to the situation, folks who spoke with hip-hop blogs and street reporters, Zoo had basically flatlined at the scene, or almost immediately after. His heart reportedly stopped pumping, and once that happened, his body started shutting down fast. The medical team worked overtime trying to revive him, but the injuries were too extreme. The shots tore through areas you can't easily repair, even with emergency surgery. The whole situation was heartbreaking. Someone who had been a respected figure in the drill scene, someone who moved with his people and stayed loyal, suddenly fighting for his life inside a hospital room while the entire city held its breath. But those EMTs were trained for moments where everything looks impossible. They kept fighting for Zoo's life even when his body was fading fast, and during that ambulance ride they managed to bring him back. They resuscitated Big Homie and pulled him off the edge for a moment. But sadly, it was only a brief pause before the inevitable. It was like life gave him one last breath before slipping away again.
The ambulance that came, right, he was already basically dead. Like, he had been dead for a minute. I don't want to say he died immediately, but Zoo had already been dead by the time that the ambulance came. When they revived him and they resuscitated him, he actually came back.
Inside the hospital, doctors and nurses were going all out, pushing themselves to the limit, trying to save him. They started rushing blood transfusions into Zoo, trying to replace everything he'd lost from the massive gunshot wounds. They were moving with urgency, fighting minute by minute to stabilize him. But here's where things turned even more heartbreaking. His body started rejecting the blood they were giving him. His system was already damaged on a severe level, too shocked and too overwhelmed to accept what they were pumping in. The bullets had caused traumatic internal injuries, destroyed tissue, torn vessels, and damage modern medicine couldn't fully repair. Zoo's body was shutting down, and no matter how hard the medical team fought, he was slipping further away. Meanwhile, word spread fast across the city, and within minutes, nearly 30 people rushed to Mount Sinai. People from the neighborhood, close friends, OTF members, THF affiliates, everyone came through trying to see Zoo before it was too late. The scene outside that hospital was heavy, emotional, and full of raw pain. Zoo's baby mama pulled up. His main girl, Tiffany, an older woman who had been holding him down for a long time, showed up too. And according to folks who were there, things got tense between the two. Grief, shock, fear. Everybody's emotions were crashing into each other while Zoo was inside, fighting for every second of life. That's the real-life messiness of situations like this. People hurting, emotions running wild, relationships colliding, and nobody knowing how to cope in the moment.
Anyways, so there's 30 people that come, like, you know, his homies come through, his baby mama come through, his girl is there. If y'all don't know, you know, shout out Tiffany, you know. But, you know, Zoo got an older woman. Zoo has an older...
By early evening, the doctors had to give the update no one wanted to hear. Zoo was brain dead and in a vegetative state. His brain had gone too long without oxygen, and even if they somehow managed to stabilize his physical body, the person everybody knew, THF, Bezo the rapper, the father, the friend, the respected figure, was gone. It was a reality that hit everyone like a punch to the chest, leaving the whole hospital waiting area in silence as the weight of the news settled in. What was left in that hospital bed wasn't Zoo anymore. It was just a body being kept alive by machines, a heartbeat maintained by wires and tubes, a painful illusion of life that only stretched out the heartbreak for everyone who loved him. His mama was shattered, and you gotta understand, no parent is ever prepared for something like this. She couldn't bring herself to make that final call at first. How do you tell doctors to remove life support from your own child? To her, the person lying in that bed wasn't a 35-year-old street legend, a drill figure, or someone known all across Chicago. That was still her baby boy. No matter what he did in life or how tough the world viewed him, he was always her child before anything else. The doctors tried to explain everything gently, breaking down the medical facts in the softest way they could. They told her Zoo was essentially gone. His organs were working only because machines were forcing them to. His brain had no activity. There was no path to recovery, no future where he'd ever wake up, talk, walk, or even breathe on his own again. It was a painful reality that no one wanted to face. Friends, homies, and family members walked in and out of that room one by one, standing over someone who could no longer hear them. They whispered final messages, touched his hand, cried over him, and tried to offer strength to each other, even though the weight in that room was crushing. Even with the monitor showing a heartbeat, everybody knew that wasn't really him anymore. It was just technology holding on to a life that had already slipped away. Then in the early morning hours of October 26, 2025, after hours of painful conversations and emotional breakdowns, Zoo's family made the impossible decision to remove life support and let him go. It was a choice no one wanted to make, but they didn't want him trapped in a body that could no longer return to who he was.
Yo, it's your boy King Yella, man. Bezu was shot 2 times in the chest, man. Yesterday, man. We had people posting like he passed away yesterday. Had people posting like he was in stable condition, people like he was in critical. But now today I wake up and see everybody saying rest in peace, rest in peace, rest in peace, man. And I know this done broke a lot of y'all heart.
The machines were turned off, the artificial breathing stopped, and in that quiet moment, Da Vinci THF Bezu Collier, 35 years old, father to 7 children, rapper, respected figure, and survivor of Chicago's toughest blocks, was officially pronounced dead. According to sources who spoke with local outlets, Zoo likely passed around 7 p.m. on October 25th, and the machines had only slowed down the final announcement. Chicago took another heavy loss that night. The news spread across social media at lightning speed, the kind of speed only tragedy can bring in today's world. People were posting RIP Zoo captions, drill pages were updating by the minute, and timelines were flooded with shock, sadness, and confusion. At first, reports were all over the place. Chicago Hits, a breaking news account on X, posted confirmation around 4-something p.m., but then deleted the post until they could fully verify the details. Other pages posted conflicting updates. Some said he passed instantly. Others said he survived the surgery. A few claimed he was still fighting. The internet was scrambling for answers while the family was grieving in private. Some accounts were saying Zoo was stable. Others were insisting he was still critical. That kind of confusion always shows up when breaking news hits social media. Everybody posting what they heard from somebody else. Facts getting mixed with rumors. Hope clashing with reality. For a brief moment, people were holding on, thinking maybe Zoo had a chance. But by the evening, everything became clear, and the truth couldn't be pushed aside anymore. Then Duty Low, one of Zoo's closest homies in the OTF circle, posted a tribute on Instagram that said everything without saying a single word. Just a dove emoji and a picture of Bezo. No caption, no explanation, nothing else needed. If you knew their bond, you already understood exactly what that meant. Within minutes, the comments exploded. Thousands of reactions came in instantly. Crying emojis, heart emojis, long messages, short messages, people tagging each other, reposting the picture, trying to process the loss. The post basically turned into a digital memorial, a place where everybody gathered to grieve in the way the world grieves today, through their screens, through their timelines, through their phones.
Family is still struggling with actually pulling the plug. So they pulled the plug early this morning on him, and he's no longer with us.
Other OTF and THF members followed his lead, dropping raw audio clips and written posts that sounded like pure heartbreak. You could hear the tremble in voices, the shock, the numb sadness that hits when someone you love gets taken suddenly. THF Rome even posted audio talking about how desensitized everyone around them had become, saying they lost a big face out of THF. And you could feel the exhaustion behind those words. It wasn't just grief. It was frustration, burnout, and pain from losing person after person to the streets. And here's the part that made the whole situation even more painful. Lil Durk, who has been locked up in a federal facility fighting serious charges, got the news while sitting in a cell. He couldn't go to any funeral. He couldn't hug Zoo's family. He couldn't stand outside with his people or pour something out in his name. He was just stuck behind walls and bars, processing yet another heartbreaking loss, while the same streets that raised him kept taking away the people closest to him. According to unverified posts from individuals claiming to be close to the situation on X, Durk reportedly broke down when he heard the news during jail phone time. While that can't be confirmed for sure, it feels believable to anyone who understands the deep day one level loyalty inside OTF. Zoo wasn't some random affiliate. This was someone Durk grew up with, grinded with, trusted, and carried with him through the rise to success. To think a dude who climbed from the trenches to global fame could still lose his people to the same violence he tried to escape. That hits different. It's the kind of hurt nobody can fully describe. The kind where accomplishment don't matter because the losses keep stacking up. Fans and peers filled the internet with tributes, artwork, memories, and old clips. Chicago drill pages, UK drill subreddits, and hip-hop forums turned into digital vigils with hundreds of comments pouring in. People were sharing old songs, favorite verses, and memories from Zoo's early days. One user summed up the whole city's mood with a simple line: "Dirt going insane in that cell. Zoo was his day one." Another person wrote, "Real stepper, real guy. R.I.P. Bay Zoo." Everyone online seemed to be feeling the same heavy energy. Heartbreak mixed with anger, shock mixed with disbelief, all wrapped in the reality that another life was gone way too soon. Another user added a comment online acknowledging Zoo's reputation as someone who kept it real in a scene crowded with cappers and people chasing attention. Even folks who didn't rock with him personally admitted he moved with authenticity, something rare in a culture where a lot of people act tougher online than they ever do in real life.
Survival. Fortunately, I feel the way too. Me and bro, 35 years old. And, even he from the other side, but me and Zoo done chopped it up a couple times, man, on some grown man. So I could say that he sat there, done called me yellow, man. Ooh, grown. You know what I'm saying? We done had them conversations, man.
Then one piece of content resurfaced that hit everyone in the chest. Zoo's final Instagram Live, recorded just days before everything went down. In that casual, off-the-cuff session, filmed from what looked like his crib, Zoo was talking to the camera with this mix of confidence, exhaustion, and looking back now, almost a haunting awareness of the danger that followed him every day. He was rocking a black OTF hoodie, his chain showing, holding a red cup, speaking directly to whoever was watching, including his rivals. He talked about get back, street pressure, and the way his enemies kept tabs on his movements. The live ran for around 4 minutes, but now it feels like a whole warning in itself, especially knowing what happened just days after.
Interview.
I ain't arguing with no trolls. I am a troll. This is what I do. I get on this tweet with y'all all day.
In that clip, you could tell Zoo understood street mathematics better than a lot of people. He knew every action has a reaction waiting somewhere down the line. He understood how Chicago's gang politics work and how certain debts never disappear no matter how much time passes. He didn't move like someone clueless about danger. He moved like someone who accepted it but refused to let fear cage him inside. He wasn't hiding. He wasn't second-guessing his life. He was choosing to live it the way he knew. And even though that same choice might have put him in harm's way, he still lived on his own terms, something people close to him always respected. CPD officially classified the shooting as targeted and gang-related, and as of October 27, 2025, 2 days after the incident, no arrests had been made. The investigation is still active under CPD's Gang Intelligence Unit, but when it comes to solving gang-related homicides in Chicago, the obstacles are intense. Witness cooperation stays incredibly rare, either because people are scared, don't trust the system, or simply follow the street code of not getting involved. Surveillance cameras are often too far, too blurry, or completely missing. And even when people know exactly what happened, they'll say they don't know anything. That's the reality of how these cases go. But the streets still talk, even when witnesses won't. And almost immediately, word-of-mouth theories started circulating everywhere about who might have been behind the hit and why it happened. Nothing confirmed, nothing solid, just the kind of whispers that take off fast when a high-profile figure gets taken out.
Somebody made a call. Hey, I think Bay Zoo here, bro. Hey, Bay Zoo here, bro. What? Yeah, Bay Zoo here. Hey, for real? Hell yeah. Oh, say less, we finna pull up. You know what I mean? That right there is textbook somebody dropped location.
The most persistent rumor floating around right after the shooting mentioned a Black Disciple set known as Bash Crazy. Again, strictly rumors, strictly unverified street chatter. But it spread fast, getting repeated on drill pages, Reddit threads, and by people claiming to have inside info. Whether any of that is true or just internet speculation is impossible to say, but the name kept popping up in conversation among folks connected to the local scene. From around 71st and Wabash, at least according to street sources posting on X and a few other platforms, the rumor is that this was allegedly payback for the February 2024 killing of a Black Disciples member known as Man Man. And Man Man himself was rumored to have been taken out because people believed he played a role in the death of THF, one of Zoo's closest homies from THF. So if these rumors really carry weight, we're looking at another chapter in a long-running revenge cycle. A cycle that's been stacking bodies for years, each loss feeding the next, each move sparking another response, creating this non-stop loop where get back becomes the engine for everything. THF supposedly gets killed in February 2024. Then Man Man allegedly gets dropped as payback. And now, 8 months after that, Zoo, one of the most well-known faces from THF, is taken out in broad daylight, supposedly to settle that same score. It's a pattern that Chicago has seen too many times.
Unfortunately, man, being in them streets and being in Chicago, man, when you come from that and you in the wrong places, it can happen. Like I always tell people, it can happen to you no matter what, 10 years later, 20 years later. When you in them places, man, it could just happen.
One of the biggest theories taking over online discussions is that somebody dropped Zoo's location, basically giving his exact spot to the people who wanted to hit him. And the way this whole situation unfolded made that rumor spread fast. It wasn't sloppy, it wasn't random, and it definitely didn't feel like the type of hit that happens by coincidence. This was organized, calculated, and executed with precision. The kind of move where the shooters knew exactly where Zoo would be, exactly what time he'd pull up, and exactly what they needed to bring to make sure the mission was fully carried out. Over 100 shots is not some quick emotional decision. That's overwhelming force, planned ahead of time, and backed by serious coordination. To pull off something like that, someone almost always has inside info. And that's why so many people believe someone close to Zoo gave up the location. Nothing confirmed, just chatter, but chatter that spread like wildfire. The tension supposedly goes even deeper. Street rumors say this beef traces back to 2023, after some luxury watches were stolen from rapper Lil Osama, someone tied to the STLEBT side. Word on the streets claimed THF members were involved in what people were calling a backdoor move, meaning someone violated trust and took advantage of an inside connection. That allegation, again strictly rumors, was said to have sparked a major fallout between the groups, adding even more layers to the conflict. And after Zoo was killed, reports started floating around that Lil Osama's younger brother posted memes on IG mocking the death, something that only added more tension and made an already explosive situation feel like it was about to ignite all over again. People online were reacting instantly, screen recording everything, reposting comments, and discussing whether another round of retaliation might be coming. Whether those posts were real or edited is unclear, but the internet definitely ran with it. This is the harsh reality of Chicago's gang politics in 2025, a tangled web of alliances, grudges, past betrayals, and non-stop get-back. The original beef becomes almost impossible to trace because so many incidents stack on top of each other. Someone gets hit, then someone else gets hit, then another person gets added to the list. One move triggers another, and the cycle keeps going until whole sections of young men are wiped out. You smoked my homie, we smoke yours. You respond, then we respond. That's the rhythm the streets have been stuck in, a rhythm that doesn't stop, doesn't slow down, and doesn't let anybody breathe. It's a tragic pattern that plays out again and again, leaving families grieving, neighborhoods hurting, and more people trapped in the same chain of violence their older homies already lived through. The Black Disciples, one of Chicago's largest and most structured sets, originally split from the Black Gangster Disciples after David Barksdale passed in 1974. Since then, different branches within the BD network have been linked to long-running issues across the city, including years of tension with OTF and THF circles connected to Black Peace Stone's affiliations. According to various DOJ reports, multiple BD subsets have been tied to over 100 homicides since 2020 alone, showing just how deep these conflicts run. Zoo's death ended up fitting right into this broader landscape, a chain of territorial disputes, old rivalries, and faction beefs that transformed Chicago into one of the most dangerous places for young black men in the country. One user on a drill discussion subreddit summed it up perfectly when they said, "Real talk? They want Zoo out the way. The days of recognizing all your ops over with once you hit 30 plus." That comment hit hard because it captured something real. In today's street climate, age don't guarantee safety anymore. Zoo was 35, and by street logic, he should have been past the most chaotic years. Most people tied to gang activity who make it to their 30s either move away, catch a long bid, or just quietly distance themselves from the old tensions. But Zoo stayed visible. He stayed active, he stayed tied to the same places and the same people who shaped him. And because of that, he stayed a target.
Boy, Big Zoo, man, THF Zoo. Instagram, BigBallZoo_46, man, OTF.
It's your boy Big Duty Low, man. Bald head Richmond.
It's your boy D-Ski, aka The Threat, man. We just jump off the
porch
with Dirty Glove Blaster,
man. You know what's going on. Yeah.
Now that we've broken down how Zoo's life ended in that parking lot, we gotta look at how his story started. Because THF Beza wasn't just another drill rapper trying to go viral. He wasn't one of those dudes chasing attention or fake storylines for views. This was someone who grew up in the middle of real pressure, shaped by the environment around him, for better or worse. Born around 1990 in Chicago, exact birth date not confirmed, DaVinci Collier spent his childhood in Inglewood, especially around 63rd and Normal. And if you know anything about Inglewood, you know it's not just a neighborhood. It's a harsh example of what happens when a city fails generations of people. Let me break it down simple. Inglewood is a place where families face poverty every single day, not as some statistic, but as a lived reality. People choosing between rent, food, or keeping the heat on. Schools barely having the resources to teach kids properly. Police showing up with force but not providing real safety. And because of all that, young boys often end up looking to the streets for structure that institutions never gave them. In neighborhoods like that, gangs aren't just bad influences. They become the only form of stability some people ever see. They offer belonging, protection, and a sense of identity that the regular world never offered. Young DaVinci grew up surrounded by the Taytown Hustlers family, better known as THF. A group tied to Black Peace Stone's affiliations and connected to the 051 Young Money Circle. The territory he grew up in was a place where the colors you wore, the block you stood on, or even the wrong handshake could determine whether you made it home at night. It wasn't about pretending or performing. It was survival. Being raised there meant learning the codes early, who your people are, who not to trust, where you can walk, where you can't, and what situations you gotta avoid. For a lot of kids in that environment, the streets become the foundation of their identity before they're even old enough to understand the consequences that come with it. Zoo wasn't any different. He grew up seeing the realities of Inglewood firsthand. The losses, the dangers, the stress, and the environment that pushed young men towards certain choices long before they had the chance to pick another path. His upbringing shaped the rest of his life, his music, and the relationships he held onto until the very end. Not much is documented about Zoo's immediate family, his parents, siblings, or the deeper details of how he was raised, outside of the harsh realities that shape life on Chicago's South Side. And in the rare interviews where Zoo actually chose to open up about his upbringing, he didn't sugarcoat anything. He described it simply as living in the trenches, which is street slang for surviving in the toughest conditions possible, where life hits you early and hard, and survival turns into a daily mission. He talked about growing up in a world where getting money any way you can becomes necessary, where you're avoiding trouble and trying to stay out the way, and where the so-called legit paths to success feel a million miles away. Zoo wasn't some kid from a comfortable area making reckless decisions for fun. His childhood was shaped by an environment where gang affiliation often becomes the closest thing to structure or stability that a young person sees. His early years were marked by losses, trauma, and the kind of emotional scars that force kids to build armor long before adulthood. That armor protected him, but also shaped the path that would follow him for the rest of his life. When he did his 2023 no-jumper sit-down, one of the few times he actually sat and talked with media, Zoo showed a level of self-awareness that surprised a lot of people. He opened up about the mental toll of drill culture, talking about how numb young people become to death, and how wild it is to function in a world where friends turning into victims becomes a regular part of life. He talked about needing to lock away emotions just to keep moving forward when your closest homies are the ones getting hit.
Bro, the case that I was fighting my brother on happened 4th of July 2008 or 9. Don't quote me because I don't remember, like, I done been through so much afterwards. I didn't get arrested for a murder charge in 2014, so you do the math.
5 years later. Somebody told on you at a later date?
Somebody lied on me at a later date.
Right. And what, like, so why was that enough, though, to get you actually, like, held for 4 years?
Bro, like, it's just that bad. They want to off the street, like, it was hearsay from the jump anyway. You feel me? No eyewitness got on stand, but it's 5 people got on stand on me in trial. 5 people, and I still came home to inshallah, you know.
This emotional survival mode is part of what shaped Zoo into what people in the streets call a real stepper. And a stepper ain't just somebody talking tough on songs. A stepper is someone who really moves with loyalty, acts on what they stand for, and carries those day one bonds like they sacred. Outsiders might not understand that mentality, but for communities where safety isn't guaranteed, these codes become a form of survival. Even with all the chaos around him, Zoo always said music became his therapy, one of the only things that helped him cope with everything happening around him. It gave him a way to process grief, to express pain, and to find identity outside the street pressures. He started rapping as a teen, not because he was chasing fame, but because he needed an outlet, somewhere to put emotions he couldn't speak on in the open. But before music could create any real opportunities for him, life hit him again in a way that would define most of his 20s. The legal system got involved, and the situation changed everything. In July 2009, when he was 19 years old, Zoo got caught up in a case involving the fatal shooting of 21-year-old Dominic Barnes. The incident happened during the 4th of July weekend near Chicago's 47th and Forestville area. According to reports from that time, the situation escalated quickly and turned into gunfire, an event that would follow Zoo for years after. He faced extremely serious charges, and his life shifted instantly from being a young man navigating Inglewood to someone dealing with the full weight of the justice system. The case became a defining moment that shaped how the city saw him, how the courts dealt with him, and how he viewed himself going forward. The scars from that chapter stayed with him through the rest of his journey, emotionally and legally, influencing how he moved, who he trusted, and what paths he felt he had left. Another life was taken in the middle of the long-running territorial disputes and personal grudges that had been claiming lives in these neighborhoods for years. But here's where things take a sharp turn and show just how complicated, and sometimes broken, Chicago's justice system can be. Zoo didn't get picked up right after the incident went down. Instead, he lived under suspicion for 5 whole years from 2009 until 2014 before officers finally decided to make a move and arrest him. And when they did pull up, they made sure it was loud and dramatic. They raided Lil Durk's crib, where Zoo happened to be staying at the time. That moment instantly connected Zoo's name to Durk in headlines everywhere, while also getting Zoo off the streets in the most public way possible.
Flew us down here, you feel me, took us shopping, and we, I said it on my no jump interview, you know, we was just really just in the basement. On Durk Live, we set a live up there, they was like, damn, you Zoo and Vaughn just beat they murder one apartment. Tell y'all should do a song.
The charges were extremely serious. First-degree murder, which in Illinois can bring 20 to 60 years, or even a life sentence depending on the judge. Zoo ended up spending years fighting for his freedom from inside Cook County Jail, one of the roughest and most overcrowded county facilities in the country. A lot of people describe that jail like a place that punishes you even before you're found guilty, with conditions that break you down mentally and physically. The case built against him was based mainly on witness statements, something that has caused a lot of wrongful convictions throughout American history because it's not always reliable. One of the witnesses was his ex-girlfriend, and in multiple interviews later, Zoo claimed she lied on him out of spite after their relationship fell apart. Again, that's his side of the story, but it played a big role in how he viewed the case. The years he spent locked up were transformative, both in deep emotional ways and in ways that left lasting damage. in that 2023. No Jumper interview, Zoo talked with painful honesty about the mental struggle of being in a cell while hearing that people he grew up with were losing their lives outside. He said he felt powerless, stuck in a place where he couldn't help, couldn't protect anybody, couldn't step in, and couldn't be there for the people he cared about.
Around them.
Man, I finally just got off the bed a month ago. I've been on house arrest for 4 years.
So you can move around freely now.
Yes, that's why I'm trying to do some flow with us, man. You hear me? Like, I ain't been able to be around my brothers for real.
News reached him through messages, whispers, and those jail phones that pass information around fast. Every time he heard about another person he knew getting hurt or losing their life, it added another layer of guilt and frustration he couldn't shake. He said it felt like watching his world fall apart from behind bars, unable to do anything except sit with the emotions. That type of tension, survivor's guilt, anger, and helplessness, built up inside him and stayed with him long after he left jail. It became part of the emotional weight he would carry into adulthood. But despite everything going against him, despite years of being held inside one of the toughest jails in the country, and despite a system that often hits young black men from underfunded neighborhoods the hardest, Zoo beat the case. In December 2017, after years of legal battles, continuances, and a slow-moving court process, he walked out of Cook County Jail a free man. The acquittal happened because key witnesses stepped back from their previous statements, and the case collapsed without solid evidence to support it. It showed how fragile cases can be when the foundation is mostly unreliable testimony instead of concrete facts. His release came at a moment that couldn't have been more perfect for him socially and musically. Lil Durk was rising fast, transitioning from being a major name in Chicago's drill scene to becoming a national figure in hip-hop, someone whose success was starting to open doors for everybody connected to him. The timing lined up in a way that allowed Zoo to reconnect with people, rebuild his life, and find new direction at a moment when opportunities around OTF were growing. Durk had stayed connected with Zoo through his whole bid, sending letters, keeping the phone lines alive, checking in, and even putting money on his books so he could survive that county grind. So the moment Zoo walked out a free man, Durk didn't waste a second celebrating his homie's return. He flew Zoo and King Von, who had beaten his own murder case just a month before Zoo's, straight down to Atlanta for what was supposed to be a simple link-up. Just some good vibes and relief after surviving years of uncertainty. But during a laid-back session at Durk's spot, one of the guys cracked a joke, saying Zoo and Von should mark the moment since they had both beaten major cases within weeks of each other. The joke turned into an idea. The idea turned into inspiration, and the inspiration turned into a whole moment. What started as clowning around in Durk's basement became something way bigger. They called in an engineer, and without writing a single line or planning out verses, Zoo and Von started trading bars off the dome, feeding off each other's energy like they'd rehearsed for months. That spontaneous vibe created Beat Dat Body, a track built on raw emotion, survival, relief, and the adrenaline of two dudes who felt like they had looked life in the eyes and walked away. The track became everything drill fans say they love: raw, aggressive, honest, and completely unfiltered. It felt real because it was real. You could hear the brotherhood in every bar, the shared struggle in their voices, and the relief in the way they attacked the beat. For many listeners, it became one of Zoo's most powerful songs, a reminder of what authenticity in the genre truly sounds like. But that freedom Zoo earned came with heavy strings attached. After beating the case, the system still locked him into 4 full years of house arrest with electronic monitoring. That meant he couldn't travel, couldn't perform, couldn't hit studios all over. His world basically shrunk down to whatever he could do inside the crib. While OTF members were hitting festivals, popping up at major shows, and building their brands across the country, Zoo had to watch from home, grinding in a limited space. He could still record, still write, still drop music. But the industry machine that takes a rapper from underground heat to mainstream stardom runs on movement, networking, and visibility. And Zoo was trapped by a monitor that beeped if he stepped too far. Even with those limits, the type of limits that would have made a lot of people bitter or resentful, Zoo didn't let the frustration turn him against the people he rocked with. His loyalty to OTF stayed strong, especially toward Durk. He always credited Durk with helping their circle, supporting homies who were struggling, and making sure people from THF had resources when things got dark. And this wasn't social media loyalty. This wasn't for likes, comments, or drops. Zoo's respect for Durk came from real experiences, shared struggles, moments that outsiders never saw, and years of moving through Chicago's intense street landscape side by side. By the time Zoo reached his mid-30s, he represented something rare in Chicago drill, an OG who had survived long enough to talk about the cost of that life, someone who lived long enough to see how the game ages you inside and out. At 35, he was considered old by drill standards, surviving so many things that had taken countless others from their neighborhoods way earlier. He had outlived people lost to gunfire, to long sentences, and to the emotional shutdown that happens when someone sees too much pain and stops feeling anything at all. That kind of survival gave Zoo a perspective most younger guys never get the chance to develop. His personality was described by people who truly knew him as a walking contradiction. Tough but caring, intimidating but generous, calm but holding a lot inside, loyal even when loyalty put him in danger. He had that old-school sense of street honor, the kind of mindset that made sense in the environment that raised him, but also became risky in a world where the codes were shifting and the consequences were heavier than ever. Peers like Judy Lowe often mentioned how Zoo stayed solid through everything, through the legal battles, the time he lost, the setbacks, the grief, and the pressure of being tied to one of the most dangerous environments in America. People who really knew Zoo always said he was the glue holding THF together, the type of guy who didn't need attention to show love. Folks in his circle talked about how he quietly helped cover funeral costs for fallen homies without ever posting it online, how he slipped money to families when their loved ones were locked up, and how he stepped up as a mentor to younger guys who saw him as living proof that you could survive things most people don't make it through before 25. Zoo earned that respect not by pretending, but by being solid through situations that break a lot of people. By late 2024 and early 2025, Zoo had finally completed his house arrest and was ready to chase the music career he never got the proper chance to build. This time, he was approaching it with real focus and maturity, working on what would have been his first fully polished solo project, lining up a real team, and making moves that showed he was trying to take things seriously. He wasn't just rapping either. Zoo had started giving back to the community in ways that meant something. He became a youth baseball coach, showing up for young black boys who needed someone in their corner, someone who understood the pressures they faced and the traps waiting for them outside their door. He knew the streets had nearly taken everything from him, and he wanted to show the next generation that there were other paths, other ways to move, other futures worth fighting for. At 35, father to 7 kids, and in a relationship with an older woman known around the circle as Tiffany, Zoo was trying to walk a tightrope that very few people managed to balance. He was trying to hold on to his identity, his loyalty, and his street credibility while also working to build something legitimate. Something that might finally give him a way out of the same cycle that had taken Von, Duck, and so many others whose names never leave the neighborhood or go beyond an IG tribute post. He was trying to rewrite his story, trying to be more than what the streets expected from him, trying to create a life where his kids could see him succeed instead of struggle. It was a difficult balance, almost impossible at times, but he was giving it everything he had as he stepped into a new chapter with the momentum finally swinging in his favor. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. See you on the next one.